In a minute.
Welcome back. Like the seats of an 86 Delta 88 coupe on D's and Bones, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Going live in a minute. Blizzard King, this is Winter Dennis Sperling podcast. You are rocking with the realest black men represented. Ain't no lies cause we winning. Catching flies, ain't no feelings. Uncle D, we the villain, baby. We just left the village, baby. Now we in them villas, baby. Dennis Sperling podcast, tuning in, we get it, baby. You can hate the player, hate the game. We love all you haters. Hate watch, hate watch. Calling lovely ladies, hands on your knees. You can thank us later. We snatching the crowns off of queens, we obliterate them. Tell the truth, train the devil, they trying to eliminate us. You begging the sipping haters, peeling layers off potatoes. Whoa, Southern Cadillac music like Outkast. Ain't jumping without bass. Dennis Sperling podcast. Whoa. Southern Cadillac music like Outkast. Ain't jumping without bass. Dennis Sperling podcast. Whoa.
We have to clean up what's going on in our house before we do anything else. What up? Welcome to the broadcast. This is Dennis Sperling. Big shout out to everybody in the chat room, man. Make sure you check in and let me know where you're checking in from. I am back to my regular podcast position. I know you guys have gotten used to my backyard boogie, where I talk about the latest subject from the luxury of my quiet backyard. But this particular broadcast is one that actually requires a lot of attention, and I want to be very specific because it's a very serious topic. Now, before we get started, I just want to thank all my members. If you haven't become a member, go ahead and join the membership now. I'm trying to get to 200 members before the end of the year. All I need is another 70. So go to my homepage on my YouTube page, click member. And you will be privy to a lot of information, a lot of videos that are no longer available to the public. In addition to that, I have books for sale. Those of you guys who know my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness, they are available on Amazon. You can also email me at sperlingdennis@gmail.com. The email is on the bottom of the screen there. I'll be more than happy to provide you with a set of books. And a lot of the topics that I discuss in my broadcast and a lot of the concepts are already laid out in the book series. Believe it or not, we're going to address some of the main topics here. But other than that, thanks everybody. I'm glad you're here. I want to, basically what we're going to talk about is the Back to Africa movement gone wrong. There's a gentleman, I've seen his channel on a few occasions. He has a channel that is called Go Black to Africa. And the brother was interviewing and the brother is a foundational Black American. and he was interviewing a brother who is a Hebrew Israelite who lives in Ghana. And for the most part, this conversation that these men had, it chronicled uh, um, the demolition of a foundational Black American funded township or community. And, you know, this victimized in the continent of Africa. Now, at this point, I don't want to run the video, brother sound, but in fair use, even though I'm not running the sound, this is a photograph, or really a video of the demolition site. Black Americans who had migrated to the country of Ghana in West Africa in an attempt to go back to Africa. For whatever reason, there's a land dispute. There's some information floating out and about why. But the bottom line is the government came along and they just tore down these people's hard-earned, uh, well, their investment. It tore down their property, and it made me have great pause. And the reason being is because, remember, a few months ago we were talking about African American women who are being unalived in the motherland by their so-called husbands, women who had relocated from either the UK or the United States, who find themselves victimized by men overseas, and the government, police do nothing about it. It's almost as if they don't exist. Here's a cold part about it. The men who unalive them allegedly end up living in their houses. So what does that tell me? It tells me that this so-called back to Africa movement needs to be re-examined. Now, I'm going to say some harsh things, but at this particular juncture, I think it's time for a harsh. I don't think anybody delivers that harsh reality like I do. I think the reason that they call me the Blizzard King is because I am willing to say things and not really suffer any consequences. I sleep well because I know that I've spoken the truth. Now, if you want to check this video out, you can go check the brother's channel out. This is the uh, thumbnail on the video, and the video is entitled Ghana Demolished, African American Community Update. This was in April, I believe, on the 6th. So this is very recent news, and this is the power of the internet. But as far as I'm concerned, if you attack one foundational Black American, then it's something that we all should address, because you attack us all. Now, just the skimming on this subject, and I'll kind of go over it briefly. And for you guys who are donating to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal, I will make sure I give you a shout out at some point. But I think this is such an important topic. I want to be able to roll straight through it. And so you guys, make sure you do what you have to do. I have much respect and much appreciation for you. But at the point where you've learned something, if I've caused for you to experience something, a thought even that you would not have otherwise experienced had you not watched this broadcast, then it is only right that you pay me for my time. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. Now, the thing that we have to understand, and these are some important facts. When you review the video, and I'm basing my information solely on the video provided by the good brother, some of the people in the community were Hebrew Israelites, okay, which is an organization, a religious organization founded here in the United States. I recall many years ago in the 1990s when I would go up to Venice Beach, California to hang out on a Sunday, I would see the brothers with their staffs, and I had never heard anybody talk so rough to the passersby of the lighter persuasion. And I just thought, this is interesting, but they're very serious brothers, and they follow for the most part, the vast majority of them follow a strict adherence to the Holy Bible. You see, they're very religious people. You have to do, and they know that Bible back and forth. The brother who was speaking with the go back to Africa, brother, his name was Atur Benin. He's a representative of the community. And again, as I said, he was an affiliate of the Hebrew Israelites. He happens to be in Israel, but he recounts how their community buildings in Ghana were demolished by the local authorities, despite having these legal issues. And this action resulted in a battle. And the brothers who are originally from the United States are seeking justice, and they're seeking compensation for the community. Now, when I look at it, it raises concerns about corruption and how Ghana, how its government conducts business with foundational Black Americans when they arrive there. People who are actively contributing to the local economy and the social welfare through various initiatives. These people had a factory. These industrious African Americans, these foundational African Americans, came over there and they were building buildings. They had factories. They were employing the locals. They were treating them fairly, and I'm assuming treating them like kindred spirit and kindred and brethren. You see, the demolition of their property, it not only disrupted these contributions, but it also damaged the trust and the relationship between Ghana and the diaspora community, and particularly those from foundational Black American backgrounds. And, they put up a special committee, right, to try to resolve the issue. But as you can imagine, without having a power base and not having a country of our own, progress has been slow. And so the community, these foundational Black Americans who are living there, are trying to get justice through the legal system, you see. But the broader implications of this, and I want you all to hear me, and I'm not going to bore you to death. This is going to be quick and sweet, but it's going to get cold at the end, because I have to speak the truth to my people. The broader implications are as to how Ghana and many of the other West Africans treat those who come from overseas to invest in their countries. And, to say the least, they need to have some systematic reforms to ensure fair treatment and to uphold some sort of moral or ethical standards. Otherwise, what? Otherwise, we might as well stay here. You see? At the end of the day, this is a land dispute. And I can only imagine that it was very difficult to even get that going in the first place. And now to have lost your investment, it's like, wow, what did we even come over here for? You see? Now, I could understand why the government would get involved and why they would want to investigate this demolition. It would want to bring it to an end, because this is a national incident, international incident at this point. And you have Black Americans like myself, foundational Black Americans. And the reason that I use foundational Black Americans, that term foundational is something that I've heard the good brother Tariq Nasheed use, because I have always called myself a Black American. So to add foundational to the front of it is not a big jump. We went from Negro to colored to Afro-American. We went, we were all sorts of names. Around about the 1980s, we began calling ourselves either Black American or African American. And so to add foundational Black American on that, to add another descriptive adjective onto that term, it simply clarifies who we are. That means that we are not Jamaican, we're not Trinidadian, we're not African from the continent. We're not South American. We're not Caribbean American. No, we're foundational Black American, which denotes that our ancestors can trace their heritage back to the slave plantations of North America. Okay, so in other words, we were here at the founding of this country, and it makes sense, and I like it, and it's easy to understand, and it's something that I could readily explain in a court of law. Okay, but nevertheless, as foundational Black Americans, those of us who have legal experience, who have influential friends, and who are maybe influential ourselves, we look at this and say, this is something that needs to be dealt with. Now, here it is. I want you to understand me. And you know, you don't have to like what I'm about to say. You don't have to like it. But when I look at this situation, okay, the situation in Ghana, it just shows me as a foundational Black American that we get no better treatment in Africa than Joseph received from his siblings when he was sold off to his travelers. Now, you may not understand that because you haven't read your Bible. But basically, Joseph's brother sold him off to Egypt to be a slave. And they didn't come looking for him until he was rich and empowered and could help them. I understand why Africa wants African Americans to return to Ghana. I understand why they would like for us to turn to Nigeria, at least the rich ones, the successful ones, the ones that could help them. I get why you want us back now. But remember, you sold us off. And now, when some of us return, you treat us poorly. You unalive our women that come over there. You say horrible things about us. I can judge by the experiences that I have with, or really the experiences that I've discussed with other foundational Black Americans. You know, you typically stick to yourselves. You have negative things to say about us in our country. I could only imagine how you would treat us there. Now, some of you all are saying, well, there has to be a good reason. What is the reason why they knocked these houses down? What is the reason? Well, the first reason that I've heard, because you know, you want to give your brothers the benefit of the doubt, because there are a lot of you here who are listening who still romanticize Africa. And that's why I've entitled this video, Mother Africa Does Not Want Foundational Black Americans to Return. What I really mean is Mother Africa does not love foundational Black Americans. Okay? She doesn't. And nor do his people, because they don't see you as Africans. You see? What they're doing now is they're trying to find a reason to blame the victims. The one that I heard that's the most prevalent is that they bought this land from individuals without doing research, okay? And they did so without having the local authority involved. And they should have expected the fact that this was a scam. That's what some of the comments say from my African brothers. They should have expected, they should have known better. In effect, what they're doing is they're blaming the victims for the crimes. Another one that I see floating around for this, and these are this is what they're saying. You see, they're basically saying that they have different laws and different customs in Ghana, which I guess is accurate. And we could assume that property rights and the rule of law are pretty shoddy in African countries, especially compared with those that we have here in the United States, which is pretty fixed. And generally speaking, you know, they're saying that doing business in Africa is risky because oftentimes the folks will ignore contracts, okay? Now, that's one reason I prefer doing business in the United States, because there's a greater likelihood that you can enforce a contract or have it enforced. You see, I've done business overseas, and you may profit more, but there's also greater risk. You see, it's easy, it's easy to get messed over. Now, the issue with Ghana is, my understanding is this, that you can't actually buy land there. You can lease the land for up to 100 years. At least that's what they say. And they also say that these house demolitions happen to the natives as well. You see, they will tell you that land title documentation in West Africa is poor. And this leads to a lot of criminal sales of unsuspected buyers. And even the locals, when they purchase the land, they do so in constant fear. Matter of fact, there's a situation going on in Nigeria where they are constructing something called the Lagos Calabar Railway, which is a major infrastructure project. And the aim is to link the various coastal cities of across Nigeria. Okay, linking the coastal cities across Nigeria. That's the goal of that. But they're taking the people's land, and so I get it. The laws are different. But that's not something that they talk to you about, and I am absolutely certain that there is some bias associated towards foreigners, especially foreigners who do not have the means and the will and the political power to hold the local government and the national government there in those separate countries to task, i.e., those from Great Britain, France, etc. Okay, at least here in the United States, the process of ownership gives the illusion of fairness, and I say illusion because you can still fight for your land. You may not own it outright because you will forever pay taxes on it, but at least no one can typically come and knock it over without paying you compensation for it. The government does have something called the takings clause in the Constitution, both state and federal, but at least they'll compensate you for it for fair market value. Here in this situation, they just knocked these people's land over, knocked these people's building over, took the land, and they got no compensation, so their investment is gone. Imagine spending thousands and thousands of dollars for construction, going through the process of ordering the raw material supplies and paying for the labor just to have it all knocked down. See? And the only reason that we have the rights here in the United States is because we fought. You see, we fought. Back when the United States was a territory of Great Britain, we were subject to what the king wanted. As far as, and so the king could pretty much do what he wanted to do and take your land, take your woman on wedding night. He had the right, the royals had the right to sleep with your wife before you did. Prima nocta is what it was called. So rights were limited, but Americans fought for those rights. And as to African Americans, our ancestors and our forefathers, our foundational Black American forefathers fought against systematic racism. And this is the type of racism that prevents you from owning houses where you want to, living where you want to live, attending the school that you want to attend, working the jobs that you qualify for, marrying who you choose to marry, those sort of rights. Now, that systematic fight, those racism still exists. So let me be particular. The bigotry and prejudice still exist. And for the most part, people are entitled to their feelings and their strongly held beliefs. Okay? If they want to feel about you because of their ethnicity, the color of your skin, where you're from, they're entitled to their feelings. You can call them ignorant, you can call them whatever you want, but they're entitled to their bigotry and their prejudice. What I'm talking about is systematic racism. I'm talking about governmental systems and and laws that intentionally oppress a class of people under the color of law. That's what our family fought against. And we were successful at it. You see? And that's why people from all over the world, irrespective of their race, they immigrate to this country because they know they'll be treated fairly under the law. You see? That's what we're used to. Nevertheless, the people in Ghana are saying, well, this ain't America. We got different laws and customs here. So in effect, they're blaming the victims for getting scammed. It's a big difference in the law. The other thing they're doing, and this is where I find it very peculiar, somebody write Hebrew Israelite in the chat room. Okay. Just think about that. Hebrew Israelite. That sounds like a very religious group of people, even if you don't know anything about them. But when you understand that many of them subscribe to the Old Testament of the King James Version of the Bible, the fact that they're accusing this particular group of foundational Black Americans of being part of the alphabet community is ridiculous. Not them. Anybody but them. Okay? Don't let the purple colors fool you. That group of individuals does not subscribe to the alphabet community. They are not rainbow riders. Okay? But what the Ghanaians are saying as a reason for why the property was knocked down and confiscated is that these particular African Americans were sent by the ABC rainbow community with an agenda of interfering with their culture, right? The plan was apparently to lure their little ones into this rainbow mess, okay? And of course, Africa will not tolerate that, okay? No, they won't. And that they need to go back, okay? This is the reason why they justify this injustice of knocking these people's property down and taking their land. They're saying that about a group of people who had a large community of Hebrew Israelites in it. These people who've never been supporters of the Rainbow Coalition. No, the truth is that's just another reason to try to justify it. Even if a person was a member of the Rainbow Committee, hold that person personally responsible. You don't go knock down other people's property, do you? That sounds like the same thing that white people did back during the Jim Crow era when they got tired of dealing with the competition that African Americans fresh out of slavery put forth. Old Black Jim has a store and old White Jim has a store, and old Black Jim is taking a lot of money away from old White Jim. So what does old White Jim do? He gins up some cockamamie story, and him and his buddies put some sheets on, and they go lynch old Black Jim or run him out of town and burn his business down. That sounds like financial undermining. That's what that is. And they can make up any excuse they want to. The truth is, you can see it clearly is about financial. When you start knocking people's buildings and factories and homes down, that's not about the person. You want to undermine their ability to compete and make money. Some jealousy going on over there. The other thing they're saying is this. This is another reason, okay? So we're going through them. They're saying the foundational Black Americans who are moving to Africa, they're poor. They say you guys want to show up to the continent, get a free EBT card, right? And live for free. You see, basically they have a problem with you showing up and demanding that you be given land as soon as you arrive. You see, they're saying that it's poor foundational Black Americans who are moving to Africa. How much is the ticket to Africa? It's about $2,000. Let's start with that. The idea of you're packing up and moving your whole life to Africa and you're poor, that doesn't even make sense. See, the truth is poor people can't move anywhere, especially Africa. These are middle class Americans moving there. These are middle class, upper middle class, established foundational Black Americans who are moving to Africa. They have money. That's why they're being robbed and scammed. And there's a woman who owns multiple businesses, and I've heard it through some good sources, that she's getting treated the same way. Now, interesting that they bring up the fact of land. I mean, you don't think that foundational Black Americans deserve land when we come to Africa? And this is when my lessons on the Africans' participation in slave trade are important. You don't think we're owed land? What about the land that we lived on when we were kidnapped and stolen by other Africans and sold on the African shore to the European slavers? What about that land that you were able to take from us? You're doing the same thing. You're taking our land again. You sell us off, take our land. You run us off and take our land. So we don't have a right to the land that we would have had. We don't have a right to use the land that we would have had before you sold us, before that great injustice was committed. I know you all are uncomfortable with this conversation. I know you don't like it, especially you so-called Pan-Africans and pro-Blacks. I know you don't like this conversation, but I'm not looking at it from an emotional standpoint. I'm looking at it for what it is. And that's the difference between you and I. See, under no circumstances are Africans willing to take accountability. They're not. Matter of fact, they're going to, at some point, flip the script and blame you. They're going to tell you you owe them something. They're going to tell you that Africa is the reason that foundational Black Americans are successful. Watch me. Watch and listen. Prediction. Prediction. Africans are going to begin to play the victim role and say that the reason that foundational Black Americans are successful is because of Africa, a continent to which we speak none of the languages for the most part. Most of us haven't seen. That's what they're going to say. They're going to take no accountability. They're going to refer to us being bitter for recognizing who sold us into enslavement, our own African brothers. They're going to tell us that we need to stay where we are. They need to tell us we need to go ahead and fight the police and get our 40 acres and a mule. As they come to this country and reap the benefit of the sacrifices that our foundational Black American ancestors made. The other thing is they're going to speak out of the other side of their mouth and they're going to say something like, well, you know, if you come over here in good faith, if you come over here without your bitterness and you're ready to learn and embrace the culture and you don't come with your superiority complex, in other words, don't come over here telling us how to upgrade, then if you do that, we may extend a warm welcome to you. But we still reserve the right not to. Imagine the roles reversed. Imagine that. Imagine that if they came over here, we didn't look at them like family, like they don't look at us like family. Imagine when they came to our homeland, to the United States. Imagine if we treated them like they treated us. See? Now, when they come to the United States, they tell us they're inherently better and more successful than Black Americans. They're going to say it's because we work hard. It's because we're smarter. But the truth is, the only reason our African and Caribbean brothers from the diaspora and sisters come from is because We allow them to exist among us. We don't persecute them. We don't ostracize them. They're able to reap the benefits associated with being a foundational Black American, having never suffered the protracted, listen, type this word in the chat room, the protracted consequences of being a foundational Black American person in America. See, there are consequences associated with being Black in America. Whether you're a Caribbean, whether you're African, whatever color you are, whatever ethnicity you are. And this is evident by the fact that after the second, third generation, most Africans from the continent, their children, their grandchildren, they begin to pick up the habits. They begin to suffer the consequences of being Black while in America. The jails are being filled up with second and third generation Nigerians and Ghanaians and Caribbeans. Folks from the continent who have the so-called better culture. Remember, they got here in 1980. Here we are 40 years later, so they're 1, 2, 3 generations in. And they're being targeted and shot and killed like the typical foundational Black American. What's the brother's name? Diallo? I forget the brother's name. Shot 50 sometimes in New York. That other brother up in Dallas, that white female police officer mistakenly walked into his apartment and shot him dead. Another Caribbean brother. Rikers Island is filled with Black Caribbeans and brothers from Nigeria and the continent. The highest rate of self-deletion among Black men in America comes from Black men from the Caribbean. What do I mean? That means they are unaliving themselves more so than any other group. It's that pressure associated with the consequences of being Black in America, specifically being Black America, being a Black man. So they might come here better, but once this system gets hold of them, they start feeling the effects. So, you know, what you can't teach them, they'll learn. See, they've come to America and realized that we have glass ceilings and quotas and allotments for Black people. And not all of them will succeed. And some of them will resort to crime. And that's why you have so many of them in jail. Now, the good thing for them, shout out to you, brothers, and I'm just speaking the truth from my perspective, and I think I'm in a position to give my perspective on this subject because many of you have had many opinions about Black men, and a lot of you all say that the brothers aren't educated enough. We don't know enough about the culture. You see, that's what you say about us. And I put my education next to any of your best. Matter of fact, line the best that you have up to them and let me be in a room with them. And I'm absolutely certain I can educate them on a lot of things and subjects that I have expertise in. So it's not that there is a deficit of intelligence or education or educational accomplishment here in the United States amongst foundational Black American. It's just that you don't associate with us. And so you wouldn't know. Nevertheless, the difference between foundational Black Americans, the primary difference between us, the Nigerians and the Ghanaians and the brothers from the Caribbean. And look, I got love for all y'all, but let's just be honest here. We speak in truth, right? Let's speak the truth. The truth is you all have an escape plan. You see? You can always pack up and go home. I see you with your little flags, you know, your little Caribbean flags, your little, you can pack up and go home, baby. Go back to Nigeria, Ghana, and Togo, Benin, Uganda. You can leave. All y'all can get up and leave. Bam, gone. You have your last names, don't you? You know what tribe you're from. You still speak your mother's tongue. You have a culture that you're so proud of, that you talk about, your food, your music, right? All you need is our money, our education, our system that allows you to walk around and be free. African Americans, foundational Black America, we can't go home. And the reason that we can't go home is because we were sold into slavery, captured by our own African brothers and sisters, you all, and sent over here, separated from our name, our language, our people, our culture. And now the leadership, the same leadership that inherited the reins of power from those who gave the order to capture us and enslave us and sell us to the European merchants, this same leadership finds a reason when we do decide to resettle in these countries to treat us poorly. So poorly that you won't knock down our houses. The same leadership that contracted with these European enslavers and signed treaties with these European nations. The same ones that benefited from the profit of slavery. You're making these same decisions. So why else would I think, how could I think anything other than Mother Africa doesn't want foundational Black Americans to return home? Now you make a big exception for these little scrawny folks, these little tiny Asian folks that come over there and whoop up on you. Take your resources, treat you like crap at the little jobs, get your women pregnant, and go back to China. You don't say anything about them. You hadn't knocked their houses down, had you? You hadn't destroyed their businesses. Oh, no, you begging them to come. So what does that tell me? Because I've been watching the news. I read. A lot of us read. I know you don't think we read. I know you all think we say yo, 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 and have our pants sagging, you know, with our hats to the back. I know, but we read the Wall Street Journal, and we see what China is doing to Africa. That's your next colonizer, taking your things. I see how these Chinese bosses treat you on your land, and you're subservient to them, but you want to get big and bad when you're dealing with foundational Black Americans. See, let me tell you something, family. This is the age of truth. And truths which were hidden will come to light. And it's time that we accept painful truth. See, this is our greatest season, family. And the more pressure and pain and suffering they try to inflict on our people, the stronger and stronger we will become. Pain is one of the greatest gifts given to our people. We just need to understand pain and utilize it for the gift that it is, a gift from the Most High. See, those Africans will not accept you. Why should they accept you? You expect 200 million Nigerians to adapt to you, whether you adapting to them, because you are a descendant of the enslaved people in Africa, in America? The world doesn't know you understanding, and neither do your African brothers and sisters. Look, you don't think it's fair? An immigrant in America needs to speak perfect English to pass a citizenship test, right? Go look at those questions. Look them up. And you want to go to Africa and you think they're supposed to accept you. They don't want to accept you. Do you speak Yoruba? Do you speak Igbo? Do you speak Hausa? Have you fully integrated yourself into their society? And you still are going to face rejection. Are you clinging to your American accent? Do they deem you as having a superior attitude? They're not going to follow your command, even if you are right. It's time for you to do introspection, my brother and sister. You need to take a look in the mirror. You are not African. And the reason you're not African is because the Africans don't treat you like you're an African. If the transatlantic slave trade is true, and the vast majority of reputable scholars, learned people, I'm not talking about your YouTube gurus who are just pulling stuff out the back of their hat, back of their butt, playing on your self-esteem. I'm talking about the cold, hard facts demonstrate that Africans were brought to this continent in the hulls of slave ships. And that being the case, why do you think that they would want you back? Family, we're a tribe unto ourselves. You see? And they don't want you back. Matter of fact, you have to ask yourself, how do they treat themselves? Why would I want to go somewhere where during the Africa's colonial era, every leader, darn near, of every country was black? And guess what happens when they have powerful leaders over there who want to make change? What do? When somebody rises to the challenge, oftentimes they're unalived by other blacks. This is no place to go back to. Yeah, they want you back to take your money, but you're not African. You're an American. And that's why they treat you like an American. That's why they treat you like a foreigner. Quoting one of our great foundational Black American scholars, Dr. John Henry Clark, you have no friends. And if I may add on to that, you have to also recognize that not all skin folk are kinfolk. Those who have facilitated your sale to your enemy, why would they welcome you back? I know that's a hard truth to swallow. It's a bitter pill, but it's the truth nonetheless. Now, I entitled this Mother Africa does not want foundational Black Americans to return. Your African motherland doesn't love you, family. Your African motherland doesn't want you. Because see, if they were serious about courting foundational Black Americans, they would give us dual citizenship, wouldn't they? That's what Israel did. That's what Israel did to the Jewish diaspora. All we get was an African day of return, as opposed to an Africa law of return. You see the difference? And that could have been accomplished with a stroke of a pen. These various African nations could have offered dual citizenship to foundational Black Americans back in the 1960s. They didn't. See, this whole Pan-Africanism, it often feels like a one-sided enthusiasm. You're excited about them. You romanticize Africa. They don't romanticize you. They're not excited about you. But see, back then there were opportunities to engage in mutually beneficial business ventures. But as we see, the lack of foresight from one side hindered those possibilities. Why is that? Because they didn't want you back. Now, for those of you who are willing to navigate the maze of bureaucratic red tape and bring substantial financial resources, and then still risk the chance of being scammed out of it all, or having your buildings and businesses knocked down, we'll go right on ahead. But for the most of you, those of you with common sense, when you begin to explore this option of returning your family to the motherland, something I've done, you may find a lack of clarity and negative experiences when you survey others who've attempted this. And you may ultimately say, you know what, I I don't think so. See, many of you romanticize Africa as the mother. However, Africa was no more of a mother to you than some of your own biological mothers who put her needs first and yours last. She's been a horrible mother, and I'm talking about Africa. She's been a horrible mother, not just to you, family, but to all of her children who are scattered about the earth and treated the worst of every group. Everywhere you go in the world, all the nations, when you look at dark-skinned people of African, her children, they're all relegated to the lowest rung of the social status. This is replete all throughout the earth. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why should the rest of the world treat us better than we treat ourselves? That's the question. We are the people that sold ourselves into slavery, and when we try to return, we treat each other horribly. We treat everybody else better than we treat our own selves. So why should we treat you any better? So says the rest of the world. Now, foundational Black Americans, because of your innate self-esteem issues, you're going to keep trying. You're going to continue to allow yourselves to be mistreated and taken advantage of by Africa because that's your motherland. You're willing to do that. Instead of saying, you know what? No, I'm good. I'm going to be a foundational Black American. I'm good. I go where I want to go, but I'm still a foundational Black American. I'm not interested in adopting their culture. I don't want to be Black like them. I'm going to be a foundational Black American. Instead, you're going to continue to allow yourself to be mistreated. That's self-hate right there. Y'all got the nerve to tell these Dominicans that they hate themselves. That's self-hate when you subject yourself to that treatment, knowing they treating you like that. You over there in Ghana getting treated like a third-class citizen. While these same places, white folks come over there and get treated like royalty. Asians come over there and get handed the keys to the city. Maybe those Dominicans know something we don't. Maybe they've learned something from dealing with their Haitian neighbors, who they do not share a culture with, who they do not share the same ideals with. Maybe they realize that nobody is going to accept you until you accept yourself. Maybe perhaps they've learned that you should just go ahead and embrace the good and the bad about yourself and go on and stop trying to relive the past or what was, because what was ain't. Maybe that's what they know that we don't. See, Africa will never unify under brotherly love. Let me say that again. We're about to get deep. Come on. Hello. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Let's go deep. Africa will never unify under brotherly love. When has Africa ever unified under brotherly love? First of all, you have to understand that the West doesn't want Africa as one, nor does it want the diaspora as one. As long as each African country is on its own and each country where the diaspora is isolated is on its own, will be divided. And nobody will do the unifying for you. See? They don't have love for each other to begin with. How can you have love for a group of people that sold you into slavery? Why would you even trust somebody like that? Every time I see an African leader get into a position of power, they don't do anything better for the lives of their people, not anything of any substance. As far as foundational Black Americans, all they want from you is your money, your free labor, and your clout. They don't really want you. And so the question is, what do we do about it? Because see, now we, Uncle D is COINTELPRO. No, Uncle D is just harsh. Uncle D is an agent. No, Uncle D is just real. Now, I told you, for all you guys who read my books, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness, I want you to write this into the chat room. POWER. All right? I want you to write this. CONTROL in the chat room. Go ahead. Let me give you a minute. You all who are slow in the back, that's power control. See, the world belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it and hold on to it. The world belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it and hold on to it. Some people can take it, some can't hold on to it. Some can hold on to it, but other people can come along and take it. The world belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it and hold on to it. My foundational Black American brothers and sisters, your only avenue to salvation is power and control. Fear of retribution is the only thing that they understand. You want to go over there and be all brotherly with a group of people that think you ain't nothing and nobody, and all they want to do is take what you have and discard you? There needs to be fear of retribution when they do that. That's the only thing they understand. And that comes from power and the will to enforce power and to inflict pain, whether it be through military force or financial constraints. Because see, right now they don't respect you. Right now you have failed to utilize the levers of power provided to you here in the United States to instill fear in those who don't respect you. And see, where respect is unavailable, fear is sufficient. Oh my God, what did he say? Where respect is unavailable, fear is sufficient. Why? Because it makes people respect your boundaries. See, if they respect you enough, okay, I'll respect his boundary. You don't respect me, that's cool. Now you're going to fear me. And I'm okay with that. They serve the purpose. You want freedom? You want peace? You have to have might. You have to have power. You have to have a huge military and show people that we are willing to impose ourselves on you if you cross these boundaries. It's geopolitics. If you want to bring Africa together, all you Pan-Africans, all y'all up in here, you want to bring Africa together, you want to bring all these nations together, you're going to have to do so under the force provided by military or by financial control. What I'm telling you is what you hear me telling you, and you don't like it. That's why y'all don't like me, and I don't care. You must treat Africa the same way the Europeans treated Africa. Oh, Uncle D is Western. He's light-skinned. He's a light-skinned Black person. He ain't even from here. How dare he say that? I said it, I say it again. You want to unify Africa, you got to treat them the same way the Europeans treated them. Extract what you need and move on. Keep them under financial control. Keep them locked in and in need, because that's the only thing they respect. I mean, look at the history of Africa if you don't believe me. Look at every nation and country that's invaded Africa, from the Arabs to the Greeks to the Europeans, now the Chinese. Control. That's what Africa apparently is built for, to be controlled. You don't have to like what I'm saying. But let me break it down like this. Any benefit derived from Africa, foundational Black Americans should be the first one in line. Hello. Let me say it again. Foundational Black Americans need to be the number one beneficiary and recipient of any benefits coming out of Africa flowing to the United States. What I'm saying is that we are or should exploit Africa's resources and finances the same way these other Western countries do. We need to make sure that FBA gets our portion thereof. Because, see, Africa will continue being the breadbasket of the world. And it's going to continue being exploited by every other nation on the planet. While you brothers say, oh, no, not me. That's my mother, Africa. I don't want her riches and wealth. Oh, no, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. While you broke. And China's getting rich from the minerals that they're digging and the labor that they're using. While the United States is using Africa for a strategic force, and the Nigerian oil is flowing through to Texas and making these Texans rich and everybody else rich. You like, oh no, Mother Africa, I love you too much to use your resources. Even though that's the same Mother Africa and her people that sold you into slavery. And when you try to take your black behind back over there, they treat you like second and third class citizens and knock down your buildings. You telling me she loves you? Huh? Reality check, family. She don't love you. She don't even love her own children. Huh? You don't believe me? Look around. Right now, Africans are being sold off and shipped off to the Middle East and other places to work for nothing more than slave wages. Stop romanticizing that place. You don't know nothing about Africa, and Africa don't know nothing about you. You give me a good reason why the children of Africa who landed in this continent shouldn't be the first to receive the benefits that Africa has to offer, wherever they may be. Treat them like the resource that they allow everybody else to treat them like. In the meantime, when you take your black behinds over there, you realize where you are. You're in a place that your ancestors were sold away from by force, against their will. Their land was taken from them. Their families, they were separated, thrown in the hulls of ships. I don't care what these cockamamie fools tell you. And if you stupid enough to believe what these so-called YouTube gurus have to tell you about history, and you ain't went to not one history class and read no books, then you just a goofball. you just a goofball, and this conversation ain't for you. I can explain it. I can't make you understand. That's not my job. Some people shouldn't be speaking to other people. And if you still fighting against that, you go right on ahead. I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Now, that said, we're going to take a little break. I'm going to simmer myself down. Y'all make sure if you've learned something, if you appreciate what I've done here today, the way I broke this down, and I've given you a new path forward. Whether you like it or not, you've got a new path forward. You got something that you got to think about now. And make sure you pay me for my time. That's what you do. I'll be right back. I say, here's my $250,000. I want this to air there. So I didn't have to kiss no butt. I know I wasn't. Damn sure ain't gonna put on the dress and wouldn't let my sons do it. If we don't own it, we don't have nothing to do with it. Either we're the shot callers, because we're not gonna be in, or we're not involved.
Me and Dennis go back like 2 Chainz. He graduated law school, I graduated in the boot gang. In the courtroom, I'm Uncle Luke, man. Got me banned in America, they loot me like Lupe. On the cell block, call me Luke Cage. Dog man hero, he the new beige. Cause Joe Black ain't like my black. We built this motherfucking country off of our black.
No more money for you. You working. No more money for you. It's lazy, you lazy. You lazy.
Get the out of here. Shut the up.
You run your mouth, we lazy, where your top at? You got ops getting paid off of our tax. Black pressure, we created hip hop, yes sir. How you bust a bus, had to dress up. Time to cut the The checkup, since protecting niggas, rude boy need to fess up. Don't call us when you tell us get the hiccups. Hold your nuts, fight back, and clean shit up. NBA hit them, rock and roll, jazz music, hip hop rhythm. I cosplay like a rude boy, get them. Harriet, Rosa Parks, even Shirley Chisholm. Even Shirley Chisholm? I reckon lineage a runner, you love to kick it. We delineated, escaping niggas who wicked. My black is the black that they hate to see when we winning. Your black is the black that they bleach to look like the villain.
Here's a picture of what my skin used to look like.
Damn.
And this is what my skin looks like now.
Shut up, you stupid cunt. All you do is complain, complain, complain.
Your black nothing like my black. It's all my got my back. Harriet Tubman, train track. 400 years still ain't got the chains back. Yo, black nothing like my black. Lizzie King, Uncle T, you know the top back. Big Bass know the game, take you out back. Imitate to me a right, you know my black.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
99 biggest promises Biden made to people, he's only following through on about 30% of them. One thing America doesn't forgive is weakness. They want to see you fighting for your goals. And on some key issues, Biden seems to be waving the white flag. He just looks weak, and I'm not talking about physically. People want to see their president going to the mat to get what he wants. And it doesn't help that anytime Biden does take a strong stand on something, his staff comes out to say he didn't mean it.
I'm up real early to fall for the same politics. I plus it's early. You talking ain't money, you need to burn it. Voting from the couch, watching dinners and all the spurlers. You with my earnings. How many times you gotta pull the same Democratic trick? Banana in the tailpipe. Since Obama like dreaming of eggplants and bananas, please tell him get his tail right. I need a friend that can stand on business. I can give a damn about all the race. If you're scared, pick a grave and lie in it. Dealing with it, faced it. How the bottom of other countries come to where we live and elevated like tomorrow. But you ain't got no reparations for me, but got billions for immigrants to borrow. Soft genocide Chicago. Them dirty ooze up in New York. Them race baiters down in Texas. And Memphis smoking us like a Newport. So swing games is a new sport. Deleting us through your politics. We playing ball on a new court. America, come out of it. Yo, black nothing like my black. It's all my got my back. Harriet Tubman, train track. 400 years still ain't got the chains back. Yo, black nothing like my black. Lizzie King, Uncle T, you know the top hat. Big Bass know the game, take you out back. Imitate to me a right, you know my black.
Just like a culture is like a computer program, there's a frequency by which things occur. And when you have a defective culture that is, and it's been like this since we were in the motherland, a divisive, argumentative, conflict-filled culture, there's always going to be opportunity for division unless you change the actual culture. Some of the brothers say you got to change the code, you got to change the actual culture. There are always going to be incidents that we can focus on to keep us divided.
I'm your king.
All right. Yeah, it was hot tonight, man. Shout out to everybody who contributed to the super chat. If you haven't, man, you just stealing from yourself, baby. I know you got some good stuff from this one. Now, here's the thing. As we continue forward with this, I need you to understand something. Number one, when I speak, I'm speaking as a foundational Black American man who can trace my heritage to the slave plantations of North America, the cotton fields, the tobacco farms, and I put foundational Black Americans first, just like many of you put your groups first. Don't get mad now, okay? When we start putting ourselves first, we see y'all. I got love for you. Don't get it twisted. I got much love for you. I'm gonna treat you good. I'm gonna eat your food. I'm gonna come to your parties if you invite me. But when push comes to shove, when we start talking about group politics, I'm gonna put foundational Black Americans before I put you, because these are my people. These are my people. Just like you have your people, these are my people. When you start putting my people before you put your people, maybe I'll do the same. But see, we've done that a long time. We've gone so long trying to embrace other cultures and letting you in and not locking you out. And y'all, it hadn't been reciprocal. So anybody who gets angry with me for putting the needs of foundational Black Americans first, well, you just foolish. My children are foundational Black Americans. My children live in America. My family lives in America. Everybody I know and love is a foundational Black American person as far as family members is concerned. This is what my heritage is. This is where my people are. This is where I live and die. This is where I was born. This is my tribe, so to speak. So what else would you have me do? Put you first, embrace you, and you not embracing us? You ain't never heard about no Black folks in America knocking down nobody buildings that's Black who came from overseas. You never heard us do that. We don't operate like that. We let you live and exist in this country. We don't bother you. We applaud you. We happy you here. We embrace you. We eat your food. We patronize your restaurants and bars and clubs and such. And you knocking our buildings down over there. Our women are being unalived in your countries by these so-called men who are then taking their property. This is what we see. Yeah, we know our women ain't perfect, but they still ours. They still belong to us. As messed up and big-headed and hard-headed and difficult to deal with, I'm number one, could be the first one in line to complain about how foundational Black American women behave, but they still ours. And it's a front and disrespect for people from other countries to disrespect and unalive our women, as bad as they are. We would be less than men if we didn't speak up about that, because at the end of the day, as messed up as they are, they're our sisters, our mothers, our aunties, our grandmothers, and our daughters. And when you unalive them and take their things, as foolish as they are, that is still an affront to us as foundational Black American men. We've been good to you, brothers in the motherland, and good to you, sisters. We've embraced you. When you go to some of these HBCUs, historically Black universities, they're filled up with Africans from the diaspora. Look at Howard University. Look at the medical school. Look at all the graduating doctors from medical school at Howard University, founded by descendants of African American in slavery here in this country for African Americans who were enslaved. And look what you do, you taking over. And we okay with that. But we can't even have our little buildings in your country. You treating us like strangers in your country. So what if we did the same? This needs to be addressed. And y'all got a problem with me telling our brothers and sisters in Africa that they owe us reparations for the part that they played in slavery. And they still kicking you in your backside. We delved into a distressing situation facing our brothers and sisters in Ghana. These foundational Black Americans went to seek and reconnect with their ancestral lands. And despite legally leasing these properties, they witnessed their homes and businesses being unjustly demolished by the local authorities. See, this isn't just about land or property, it's about trust, it's about ethics, it's about principles of governance. These Black folks not only invested their resources, but they also invested their hopes and dreams. Dreams that they carried here from this United States, all the way to the motherland. When they over there, they don't just represent themselves, they represent all 40 million of us. These were hardworking Black folk, contributing to the local economy and the community welfare. Yet what they received in return was blatant disregard for legal agreements and ethical standards. So now you got a legal struggle for justice. Ha! They could have stayed in for that, couldn't they? They're dealing with corruption. They need systematic reforms. This is how Ghana treats the diaspora when they return. Hell, they could have stayed in the UK and the United States for that. They didn't have to go over there to be systematically ostracized. We get that right here. See, We need to understand that this scenario impacts not just those on the ground, but all of us considering our ties with the so-called motherland. This, to me, is a clear signal that we, as foundational Black Americans, need to reassess how we engage and invest in these ancestral lands and how we see it. See, it's crucial for nations like Ghana to uphold moral and ethical standards to foster a healthy environment for stakeholders, especially those returning home at your invitation. And what we need to do as African Americans is we need to go ahead and demand integrity and justice, not only from others, but from those from ourselves in our communities. And we need to demand that we be treated as brothers and sisters. Otherwise, we need to act accordingly. Nevertheless, this is Uncle D. I love you all. I hope you all appreciate this broadcast. And as I always say at this time, this is Uncle D, and I'm out.
Dennis Sterling Podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe.